So we have already done this property nucleophilic substitution reaction, and you got to know that we can actually synthesize many compounds using the haloalkane. So the second property is nucleophilic elimination. So we'll just look for that. We have nucleophilic elimination reaction. So first of all, you should know that what is an elimination reaction. Elimination reaction is that in which some you can say some atom or some group of atoms are going to get eliminated from the compound. So this we mainly do like the nucleophilic elimination reaction by using the alcoholic KOH. So just let's look for the example. So let's say we have this thing CH3CH2Br, that is the ethyl bromide. I can also write this compound as this way. So now I am going to add alcoholic KOH to it. As I told you that alcoholic KOH is actually capable of doing the elimination reaction, or is capable of eliminating a atom or a group of atom. So you see, carefully see, look in this compound. The carbon atom to which the halogen is attached is called as alpha carbon, right? And the carbon which is present next to the alpha carbon is, you know, that is a beta carbon. So here one atom we are going to remove from the alpha carbon and one atom we are going to remove from the beta carbon. So we can say this is a kind of beta elimination. This is a kind of beta elimination. So what is going to move here is that we will be removing one H and one Br. So just look at the board. So when one H is being removed, it turns out to be CH2. The bond and this becomes again CH2. Because to restore the valency, we put a double bond. So that means, or I'll just do this way, you'll be, it will be able to understand in a better way. So this I have, so this molecule actually of HBr gets removed, and these bonds are, you can say, regained by forming a double bond. And what we get here KBr, this K reacts with Br, and H with OH forming H2. So that means by nucleophilic elimination reaction, what we get is alkene. Like in this case, we get ethene because we started with ethyl bromide. So likewise, if you take the propene, the propyl halide, you will get the propene. So likewise, you can prepare alkenes with this elimination reaction. So now one more thing, it is the case where you have a symmetrical structure. So let's consider one more. So let's say we have a compound like this. Let's say this. So what is this? It is 2-chlorobutane. This is 2-chlorobutane. So I am going to show an elimination through this, taking a same compound. So I can have this elimination in two cases, because here this is my alpha probably, and we have two betas. So one beta is this carbon next to this, and we have one more carbon which is attached directly to this. So this is also beta. So in this case, there is an option that you remove the hydrogen from this beta, or you remove the hydrogen from this beta. But definitely you are going to remove the halogen from this alpha one, right? So what you will get if you remove from this thing, you will get compound like CH3, CH2, CH double bond, CH2, right? And if you remove the hydrogen from this beta, you will get is CH3, CH double bond, CH and CH3. Now the question is that, like in this case, you saw that we can do a beta elimination in two ways. We can do by removing the hydrogen from this beta. We can also do it by removing the hydrogen from this beta. Now the question is that which product will be a major product. So here we obey a rule called Setiev's rule. What does this rule states? It states that if two kind of dehydrohalogenation, because it is something a dehydrohalogenation, because we are removing a hydrogen, we are also removing a halogen. So whenever dehydrohalogenation is possible in two ways, we select that method, or we select that alkene which is maximum alkylated. I repeat, if dehydrohalogenation can occur in two ways, so we select that alkene, or you can say that alkene is a major product which is maximum alkylated. So in this case, if I see that this alkene is surrounded by only one alkyl group, but in this case it is surrounded by two alkyl groups. So that means this will be a major product, Right. So this is what is a nucleophilic elimination reaction. So when you are doing it, when we are talking about unsymmetrical haloalkane, or when we are symmetrical about, when we are talking about the dehydrohalogenation from an alpha carbon which has more than one beta carbon, right. So or which is bonded to more than one hydrogen. So there we need to use the Seyth's rule. That is, that alkene is going to get preferred which is maximum alkylated. The second property we have is action of heat. So next, what happened? Action of heat. So let's apply this example to the same haloalkane. Let's say we have CH3, CH2, Br, that is the ethyl bromide. I'm heating it around 575 Kelvin. So what happens? When we heat it, again a dehydrohalogenation can take place and it will form CH2 double bond CH2, and with that we'll get a HBr. Because H will be removed from this and Br will be removed from this. So that means you are, by heating also you can get the dehydrohalogenation done. Right. So this is the third reaction. Fourth is the reduction. We have to see that what happens when we do carry out the reduction. So let's take the same example, ethyl bromide. Reduction means addition of hydrogen. We need a reducing agent. Let's say it is nickel. We can use another reducing agent, zinc in hydrogen chloride. We can use another reducing agent, a popular one, lithium aluminium hydride. So whether you use nickel, whether you use zinc in hydrogen chloride, whether you use lithium aluminium hydride, you are going to get the same product. That means one H is going to attach here, and this alkyl group will definitely is going to convert into alkane, and you will get a HBr. Same here. When you carry out in presence of ZnHCl, then again it will form ethane plus you will get HBr, the same in this case. But whenever you want to carry out the reduction of the, let's say, ethyl iodide. So let's say we have ethyl iodide. We are going to carry out reduction. So you need to keep in mind that we cannot add direct H2 to it. We add hydrogen iodide and there should be a presence of red phosphorus. But this reaction take place in the same way. H attached to this place, we get C2H6 and I as I2. And this red phosphorus actually combines with I2 and prevent the reaction from becoming reversible. So this is what is the reduction. That means you can carry out the reduction of the halides, and what you get after that? You get after that, because when you add hydrogen to haloalkanes, it turns into a pure alkane. So this is what is the reduction. Next is the reaction with sodium, and this is an important reaction because we have already done as a property in alkanes also. So what happens in this case? So let's say we have two alkyl halides, we are adding sodium, and this reaction is taking place in presence of dry ether. So what happens? It gets removed in this way, a molecule of NaCl, and this gets attached and we get alkane. So again, this is a method. So by reduction and by Wurtz's reaction, that means by reacting it with sodium, we can actually get the alkanes. I think you remember this, that when we are performing this reaction with sodium, we need to take these alkyl groups similar. Right, because if we'll take a dissimilar alkyl groups, we'll get a mixture of alkanes, and as we know that mixture of alkanes are very difficult to separate as they have the same boiling point. So whenever you are carrying out the formation of alkane, or whenever you are reacting the haloalkane with sodium, you need to keep in mind that you have to take the R same. That means you have to take the alkyl groups same on both the sides, because if you will take the different one, as I told you, they will get different mixtures of alkane, because they will react with themselves also and with the other also. So you will get a mixture of alkanes, right, and they will be difficult to separate. So we can say probably it is a method to prepare alkane, but what kind of alkanes? Alkanes with even number of carbon atoms, not the odd one. So this is what is the Wurtz's reaction, that is the reaction of alkyl halide with sodium. Next is with reaction with sodium and lead alloy. This is also an important reaction, because as a result of this reaction we get a very important compound. So let's look at the board. So what is that? It is the reaction. Let's say we have ethyl bromide again. I am reacting with sodium lead alloy. So what happens? This Pb actually replaces the Br, and as a result we get C2H5 whole 4 Pb. This is something called as tetra. This 4 is termed as tetra ethyl Pb is lead, which is used as anti-knocking agent in engines. It is used as anti-knocking agents in engines. So this is what is the reaction with sodium and lead alloy. And what happens when we react it with Mg? So let's take again an ethyl bromide. Let us react with Mg. So we get a popular compound, that is the Grignard reagent, that is RMgX. So this is C2H5 MgBr, which is called as Grignard reagent, a popular reagent used in the chemical lab. Right. Next is the Friedel-Crafts alkylation. Next we have is the Friedel-Crafts. This is an important reaction. In this reaction we are going to react the benzene, or you can say a haloalkane with benzene. So let's say I have this methyl chloride, that is an haloalkane, and I am going to react it with benzene. So what I will get, the H will get replaced from this place and it will be replaced by CH3 group. So I will get this thing that is called as toluene and we will get the HCl. So this is called as Friedel-Crafts alkylation, because as a result the alkyl group gets attached. Otherwise if it is replaced by C2H5Cl, then C2H5 will get attached to this place and we will get this kind of thing, again a HCl molecule. Next we have is rearrangement. What is that? You know that rearrangement is a part of a kind of isomerism. So what happens? Let's say I have a structure like this. So this is my, you can see that Cl is here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. That means it is chlorobutane. So now what I am doing is I am just reacting in presence of anhydrous AlCl3. The molecule gets rearranged actually. We get an isomer. So let's say it gets attached to this place. So what has occurred? Earlier it was chlorobutane and here it has become 2-chlorobutane. So it is something that only an isomer is then obtained. That means the position of this Cl gets changed when you react it with the presence of aluminium chloride and also heat it, because they can get somehow arrange themselves. Last is the polymerization. Now, you know that what is polymerization? Polymerization is actually a formation of polymer. What is a polymer? It is a giant molecule which is formed by the combination of many small units that are called as monomers. So, if we look for alkyl halides or haloalkanes, you can say that if we talk about haloalkanes, so we have two popular, you can say the polymer which are obtained as a result of polymerization of haloalkanes. So, what are that actually? They are PVC and Teflon. As they are greatly used, PVC are used in making cables, pipes and all, and you know that Teflon is again a tough material. So we can prepare that Teflon and PVC, that is polyvinyl chloride, from the polymerization of the haloalkane. So just look for the monomer, that what is the monomer that is making the formation of this polymer of PVC and this possible. So what is that? So, like if I want to make PVC, I have to start with this thing, and this is what is called as vinyl chloride. As I already told you that when we started the chapter, I told you that we have the halides based on sp3 hybridization and sp2. There I told you that whenever the halogen is directly attached to the carbon, which is a part of unsaturated system, we call that haloalkane as vinyl chloride. So this is what is a vinyl chloride. It is a monomer. So when we are using its N units, so what happens? This bond gets single and these units keep on repeating throughout the length, and as a result we get a PVC. That means PVC is a polymer where you get to see monomer, this thing, vinyl chloride being arranged in the continuous length. So this is what is the PVC. And if you want to make Teflon, how we do? We start with the haloalkane, that is tetrafluoroethane. This is the monomer for Teflon. So again when it will get linked, the bond will open, it will become single and it will link to other monomer like this and keep on repeating throughout the, you can say, a substance, and it will give rise to a polymer, that is the Teflon. So I've told you, like I made you familiar with almost all the reactions of all the chemical properties of the haloalkanes, and as you saw that haloalkane is something, an important compound, because it is actually you can say helping in formation of many compounds, of many chemical compounds actually. So because in nucleophilic substitution reaction we prepared many compounds, we prepared cyanides, we prepared nitro compounds, we prepared many kind of compounds, and when we look for nucleophilic elimination, at that time also we saw that many compounds were formed as a result, like as I told you that the alkenes were formed, right, and this thing, when we did this reduction, then we obtained alkanes, then we did Wurtz reaction, again we obtained alkanes. With sodium lead alloy we obtained a popular compound, that is the tetraethyl lead, used as an anti-knocking agent. With magnesium we obtained a Grignard reagent. With Friedel-Crafts alkylation we can prepare many benzene compounds like toluene, aniline, we can prepare many actually. And by rearrangement we can just change the position of the halogen and we can get the isomer, and by polymerization we are getting the popular compounds, that is the PVC and Teflon, right. So we can say that actually that haloalkanes are playing an important role because they are actually used in making the many chemical compounds. So this is what is the chemical properties of the haloalkanes.